as you're signing as Bold.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Bold School of Commerce. My name is Mike, and I'm joined with my friend Paul here. You've seen him on School of Commerce in the past. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. This is going to be a really, really great lesson today. We're going to be talking about everything you need to know about drop shipping. Drop shipping is just one of those ways where you can empower entrepreneurs to start their own stores. We're going to be talking about everything from what is it, the pros and cons, how to set it up, how to sell, and at the end of this lesson, we'll be giving pro tips from Bold on how to set your store up for success. So as I mentioned, I'm joined here with Paul. Thank you very much for coming on School of Commerce today.
Thanks for having me.
The reason Paul is here, not only because we needed a guest to fill the chair if you hadn't joined us for the last episode, but Paul is an expert at drop shipping. He's a pioneer at Bold when it comes to drop shipping. He started a store, he grew the store, and he knows absolutely everything there is to know. I myself am relatively new to drop shipping. I only recently started a store myself. So, it's all set up right now. It's ready to go. But I'm glad you'll be able to give me some tips and tips for anybody else out there watching. That being said, thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions at all about drop shipping or about what we're talking about, please write them in the comments. We've got our switchboard director back there. He'll be letting us know if you guys have any questions at the nearing the end of this episode, nearing the end of this lesson. We will be answering some of the most common questions that we've seen with regards to drop shipping. So if you do have a question, post it in there and we'll get right to it. That being said, let's get right down to this episode here and talk all about drop shipping. So drop shipping itself, it's essentially a retail fulfillment method where you don't have to have any inventory on your own. What that means is you'll go to a third party where you'll get your orders fulfilled by them. They'll ship those orders for you, and it's essentially like you're almost washing your hands of it. You know what I mean, Paul?
Yeah.
So let's first talk about drop shipping in general. What kind of drew you to drop shipping? I know I'm online a lot of the day, and I see there's live streams and webinars and information and ultimate guides on drop shipping. What was kind of like the main thing that drew you to drop shipping and start an awesome store?
Well, kind of the original thing was just the low startup cost, obviously, was it. Basically, you can start a free trial on Shopify, and after that, you can have a store an account for basically, I think the lowest is $30 a month. Okay. I think is the lowest one. So essentially that's the only cost you really have. You don't have to hold any inventory. So obviously that's a plus in terms of startup costs. And then basically the only other cost you're going to have associated with it is going to be any advertising you want to do, whether that's Facebook ads, Google ads, or any other sort of advertising you want to do. And then basically after that, it's just time and effort.
Totally. So you mentioned lacking inventory or not having inventory. Typically, and as most people know, if you run a Shopify store or you run an online store, you're selling goods or services that you own.
Yeah.
Maybe you make them, or maybe you just have them around. It's your product.
Yeah.
The reason why drop shipping is so interesting and something that people are drawn to is because you don't have anything.
Yeah.
You just need to be able to find products to sell.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot of resources online that allow you to do that. Which we'll get to. But what I wanted to switch gears a little bit is talk a little bit about the pros and cons. There's pros and cons with everything. We understand that one of the big pros is that you don't need any inventory. But you know what? It's not just set it and forget it. There's probably also some hardships that come along with drop shipping. So starting with not having any inventory, you don't have to also have a lot of capital to start. You mentioned that too. Typically, I guess with a traditional store, you need to invest a lot in the company to buy products or to buy merchandise or anything like that. When it comes to drop shipping, you don't have to do any of that.
Exactly.
So that's really convenient. It saves you a lot of time and effort and money for that matter. So it's going to go really a long way if you do decide to take this method. Now, we've talked a little bit about products. Now let's kind of jump right ahead to where do you find products to drop ship? Like, can you just go to an online store, or are there's resources where you can go? I found OllyG. I was reading some forums, and I felt that AliExpress, not OllyG, it was one of the best marketplaces, I guess, if you will, for wholesale products. So where can people go to find some of these drop shipping sites?
Yeah, I mean, AliExpress is obviously one of the most popular ones.
Ollie G is also a popular guy. So.
he's a very popular guy.
I think he just had a new show that came on Netflix recently. It's coming out in October, anyways.
Well, we'll talk about that in the next.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's totally cool. I'll be on that one too. But yeah, I mean, AliExpress is obviously the most popular one. You can go on there, find basically any product that you would find on, say, eBay or Amazon or any other site like that. You can do, if you really want to try and stand out. A lot of people get their products from AliExpress. So if you want to try and stand out, you can always look at other suppliers or manufacturers that aren't on that site that you might want to strike a deal with. It might be a little bit more difficult in terms of you might have to invest in buying in wholesale and bulk from those suppliers. I know a lot of times too, some people will do kind of like an affiliate store where they're selling other people's products, but they're just really good at maybe driving traffic to a site. So they'll put those other people's products on their store and sell them, and once that sale goes through, they get a commission back. So that's one way to do it. But definitely on AliExpress, like the main thing is just to look for popular items. So what you want to do is you want to look at Google Trends is a good thing to use to try and find products that are trending up. You want to look at stuff that is either rising or has been even for maybe the last 3 to 6 months. And also what it'll do is it'll help you look at, it'll give you other items that are similar to it. So you might want to sell with the item that you have in mind. And also it'll show you areas all over the world. So geographic maps of where those items are popular. So
that's
say
very
if
cool.
I just want to sell to people in North America, it'll show you if you're searching for socks, where the most popular countries are.
Okay, that's very cool. So for those of you who are just tuning in, we are talking about drop shipping, giving you everything that you need to know if you're looking to start your first store and investigate drop shipping a little bit. We've glossed over what drop shipping is in a nutshell. But Paul, I've mentioned you have a store. I have a store. Your store is the Pink Fox, shopthepinkfox.com.
Yeah.
My store is the Sloth Gift Shop. You selling women's apparel, women's swimsuits,
swimwear, and we just started adding a little bit of apparel. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm selling Sloth merchandise. So let's have a little bit of a conversation. What is kind of the best way for people to think about what to sell? You mentioned that the Google Trends and whatnot. What drew you to selling women's swimwear? I mean, I don't know. Some people believe and wear the products that they sell. I don't know if that would be as fitting with you, but fitting, no pun intended. But kind of how did that happen? And what are some of the ways that people can figure out what they should be selling?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends what kind of store you want to run. So, I mean, if you want to just run a store that has a trendy product and you just want to take advantage of that, fidget spinners, for example.
That's a good one.
If you want to take advantage of a trend and just makes a quick buck, which there's nothing wrong with that, you can definitely do that. Or if you want to try and build a little bit of a brand around your drop shipping store, there's a fairly big Shopify store called Fashion Nova, which started off as a drop shipping store. And now, they do $1 million in sales a month, huge store. So they started off that way. Made sales and then eventually invested into their own product.
I like what you mentioned about kind of jumping on trends, and the title of this live stream is how to start a drop shipping business by the end of the week.
Yeah.
So it's Thursday today. That would mean that the end of the week is Saturday. And I'm not confident that if anybody is watching this and currently has a store, that they can have one up and running by the end of the week.
Yeah.
So that being said, like fidget spinners kind of came out of nowhere. There was a big trend and a big boom. If you wanted to, you probably could just jump on, take advantage of that trend, start a drop shipping store, start advertising advantage of that. So a bit of a tip here is if you don't know exactly what you would like to sell, find out what's trending. Yeah. If there's something that's going on, maybe in the media or a T-shirt or a slogan or anything like that you can capitalize on. That's a really easy way to do that too.
There's a few other good ways too to find, if you want to search through, besides Google Trends, is Amazon, Etsy, eBay, bestsellers, that kind of stuff. Also within AliExpress, they also have best-selling products, which will help as well. And then kind of a cool little hack is to go into, if you plan on doing Facebook advertising, go into Facebook, go in the search bar and type in kind of like call to action phrases like buy now or get it now and that sort of thing. And then you click on just under the search bar, there'll be posts and a whole bunch of other options. I can't remember what they all are. But if you search for posts, basically it'll come up with just all the posts that have those catchphrases or call to actions in them. And then you can look and see, I was searching just before this, there was one that came up it was for a cat shop and it was cat t-shirts. And they're selling drop shipped cat t-shirts. And the ad had over a few thousand comments, over a few thousand shares. And so obviously that's an ad that's performing very well. Odds are they're probably making a good profit off of that. So that's another good way to find products that are trending.
Cool. That's very, very cool. So for those of you just tuning in, thank you guys for tuning in. If you do have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments. We are more than happy to answer them. We're talking about drop shipping. It's just a really easy way for entrepreneurs to start a store. You don't have to have a lot of capital. You don't need any inventory at all. But if you want to start selling, maybe you want to start a side business, you want that hustle. People are always talking about hustles and side businesses. Shopify is such a great way to do that. And drop shipping is just a really great way to do that too. But just with anything, it's not all roses and sunshine. There are some issues or some things that can come up with regards to drop shipping. One of which is low margins. And can you explain a little bit about that, Paul? How you can't necessarily maybe make a lot of money, or is it that you need to sell more products, or where does pricing come in, and how does that kind of have a factor with drop shipping? Because they're not your products. You're buying them from a third party and then selling them on their behalf. So essentially you're buying something and then selling it. How does that all work?
Yeah. So in terms of pricing, it really depends on the product that you're selling. So, I mean, for example, with swimsuits, what we did is we ordered a couple to kind of see the quality. So one thing you have to take into consideration too is the manufacturers that you're working with. So say if you're dealing with AliExpress and you're looking through, for example, for my store, I'm looking through a bunch of different swimwear. You want to look at the manufacturers that have a rating system. So they have, I believe it's metals, diamonds, and crowns, I think is their rating system. And they go, I think 1 to 5. So 1 to 5 for metals, 1 to 5 for diamonds, 1 to 5 for crowns. I usually look for stores that have at least 4 diamond rating, which kind of sounds cheesy, but it means they're. And then you want to look for manufacturers as well that also have been around for a couple of years, so they have a little bit of a reputation. So what I did is I looked at that, and then I looked at the products within those manufacturers, and I would pick the highest reviewed and highest starred items within there, and then we ordered a couple. And then we just kind of tested the quality, and some of them none of them, the ones that I ordered were really bad. Some were a little bit worse than others. Some of the quality were exceptional. Like I'm talking, we compared between that and a Victoria's Secret swimsuit, and you could not tell the difference. So, I mean, if you have a product like that is high quality, and the fit and everything, it comes how it says it's going to look, then you can probably price yourself a little bit higher. But if you're not doing that, then you might want to start with a lower profit margin. That way, if people get it, they're upset, all that kind of stuff, you're not pricing yourself out. You have to take into consideration too that for a lot of people, will buy from drop shippers, but they know that they're drop shippers. So they might look at Amazon or eBay to find those products as well. And if you're priced way too high, you're just going to be you can't compete with Amazon. I had a situation where a customer actually found the exact same swimsuit on Amazon for half the price of what I was selling it for. So what I ended up doing is I just told her, I'll sell it to you for a few dollars cheaper than what you can get on Amazon to get that customer. That way, at least the one thing I could do was email her and offer her products in the future as well. So I didn't totally lose the customer.
No kidding.
I didn't really make a profit on it, but at least I gained a customer.
That's awesome. So I think a couple of things that Paul was touching on that are really important. When you're picking a product to sell or you're starting a store, it's very, very important that you see the products in advance. If you are not drop shipping, you have your products, you know what they are. Maybe you make them, or maybe another company makes them, but it's tangible. With drop shipping, one of the pros is that you don't have to deal with any inventory. But that being said, you don't actually know what the products look like necessarily. So if you are selling clothing or something like that, it's really easy for you to go to AliExpress, order one of the products. That might be one of the costs that you have to front when it comes to this, which, there's going to be costs to starting a store in general. But getting to know the products, really understanding, finding out the good ones, because Paul mentioned that, you can tell the difference between a good one and a bad one, and you never know. Exactly. So make sure that you know what the products look like. Also, you're going to get a good understanding of the packaging. These aren't your products. So one of the pros, as we talked about earlier, is that you don't have to deal with shipping. Yeah. But you also want to make sure that shipping is good, that the packaging works well, know how long the products are going to take to get to you. Absolutely. So essentially treat yourself as your first customer. Start buying products, find out which third-party vendor you want to buy your products from, actually touch your products, see what they look like, understand what their packaging is going to look like, and that's going to really help you go a long way, because customer service is key. If a customer is unhappy with your product, they're going to tell people. They're going to go on social media, they're going to leave you a negative review, and it's going to be hard to come back from that. So why not do it right the first time? Sell high quality products. And I think that it's really important, regardless of what you're doing, if it's drop shipping or not, you should believe in your product. Sell something that you would want to buy. I think is one of the very, very base piece of advice to give is sell something that you would really want to buy, because you're putting yourself in your customer's shoes, and it's going to be something that's going to help you develop your store and your brand along the way. Yeah, absolutely. And I would say as well, you can also reach out to the manufacturers. They're all the ones that I reach out to in AliExpress were pretty receptive. Okay. And I haven't done this, but I know of other people that in the past have struck deals with them saying, hey, I have this many people visiting my site and making this many sales. I want to be kind of an exclusive with this product or this other product that you offer. And sometimes they'll do that. It doesn't happen too often. You have to have real good sales and traffic and that sort of thing. So that's one thing to do as well. Also, if you're not going to order product ahead of time, one thing I would consider is really look at the star ratings of that products, and then also look through the ones that have a lot of comments, because that'll give you a lot of feedback. Sometimes they'll talk about, sewing that comes undone, or for example, for swimwear, it was certain areas weren't fitting in the way that they were described in the product ad and that sort of thing. So that's just another way to make sure that you're getting the best quality. Cool. One other thing that I did want to mention too, that goes with the idea of not having any inventory to deal with, or products to sell for that matter, is inventory issues. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to get at here is, how do you know if you're going to expect inventory issues? So like one of the things that I was reading online, that a lot of people do, and I'm not sure if you do this, but they pick different manufacturers. So you don't necessarily just need AliExpress. You'd be using a number of vendors. But that being said, what can come with that is inventory issues. The last thing that you would want is to offer a product on your store, a customer buys it, later that item isn't in check or isn't in your store. That would be terrible. So how do you make sure that your items are in stock? Is there a way that you can tell if an item is running low, or if an item is actually out of stock? Do you get notified, or how does that work a little bit? Yeah, a little bit of being up to date with your store on your end, just checking in, even if you don't have to go in and physically manage your store day to day, going in and checking. So like for myself, ordering off AliExpress, I use the app called Oberlo. Okay. And basically what that does, it'll give me notifications. So say if a manufacturer stops producing a certain product, it'll tell me, it'll have a prompt saying, this product is no longer available, and do you want to override it with a similar product? So what you would do is you would go to AliExpress, find another manufacturer that has either that exact item or a similar item, and you can basically override your listing with that item there. So basically what it'll do is it'll keep the name and the pricing and the images and all that kind of stuff, except it'll just come from a different manufacturer. Oh, and then that's sneaky but very cool. Yeah, so it's kind of a cool little thing. And also I know some print on demand apps, they'll have prompts once you log into those apps that'll tell you, we're low on this item, or this item's out of stock. You can also set up, depending on which app you're using, that Oberlo, for example, again, you can set that if there are no
items in stock for that product, it'll basically exit out on your store. The image will still be there, but it'll say out of stock on your store.
Oh, okay.
So there's
That's awesome. That's
great. There's a bunch of little tricks that you can do within certain of the apps that kind of automatically update for you.
Sure.
Another thing you mentioned before, just to backtrack a little bit about talking about packaging and that sort of stuff, you can create messages in Oberlo for your manufacturers you can put something to sound like, hey, I'm a drop shipper. I don't want any logos or images or branding on the packaging, and just to give them a heads up, and then they'll send it out in kind of just a plain package most of the time.
I did not know that. That's very cool, because that way, you're not in control of your branding and your packaging when you're you're using another manufacturer. But this is almost like the closest that you can come to getting to do that. So you do have a say in what your packaging looks like. Yeah,
a little bit. And I mean, if you really want to go around it, you could always order that inventory to yourself and then ship from your home or office or wherever you are.
That's a great idea too. Well. Cool. So for those of you just tuning in, we're talking about drop shipping. We're talking about right now, you mentioned Oberlo. I want to get to that right away. We've talked a little bit about what drop shipping is, the idea of not actually having to have any inventory, where you use a third-party vendor to fulfill and ship your products, which is really great. We've talked a little bit about what you should be selling, where you should be selling, where you can find these manufacturers or these third-party vendors. We've talked about how you can kind of control your shipping and your packaging and your messaging. What I want to talk now about, and I think a lot of people are probably, is actually setting it up. So you mentioned Oberlo. I use Oberlo as well. Yeah. Let's say somebody has a store idea. They've just watched this webinar and they're like, okay, let's do this. What is the first thing that somebody should do, and how do they get started, installing these apps, kind of making their store a little bit more automated as well? We've talked a lot about automation. Whenever you can find automation, so that way you can save time or cut corners, so that way you can spend time doing what it is that you want to be doing or other aspects of your business. Oberlo, AliExpress, where do we begin?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, obviously just going to the App Store, downloading the Oberlo app, signing in, and then from there, what you can do is you can search for products two different ways. You can search directly in the Oberlo app. They have a search bar on the left side menu. You can search for items, and then there's a search bar at the top of that page. And basically, whatever you search, swimwear, hats, socks, anything, and it'll come up in there. I usually don't use that method. What I do is Oberlo also has a Chrome extension that you can use, and you go directly to AliExpress. I just find the search function a little bit better there. You can search for popular items, bestsellers, certain star ratings, all that kind of stuff, and from certain manufacturers if you really want to as well. So just a little bit of easier time to find the products that you're looking for. And then once you find a product, there's the widget for the Oberlo extension. You basically just click that button and it will push it to the Oberlo app in your Shopify store. And then, so basically you go through, say you find 25 items, you push them all to your store.
Yep.
And then you go back to the Oberlo app, and I can't remember what the title is, but there'll be a list of all the items that are basically synced and ready to be pushed to your store. So you go in there, you select, say for example, for my store is swimwear. Sometimes I picked one swimsuit, there'd be 20 different variations, maybe different colors or a little bit of a different style or whatnot. You pick the variations that you want. You give your product, title, you add it to any collections if you have any collections set up in your store, what pages and all.
Give it a good description. That you should be doing as well. Make sure that the products that you do have a good picture. Some of the drop shipping sites, there are other people's imagery. Maybe there's a strange logo or something. Make it consistent with your store. Have good images. Have good titles. Have good descriptions. Don't just take the items from AliExpress and shove them on your store. Because from what I've seen, a lot of the times it's just stats. It's just like size, color, fabric, and all this stuff that it's important. But maybe have a nice title and a product description in there. That stuff will go a long way, especially if you're selling a product that other companies are selling. For all they're using the exact same apps that you're using as well. So how you can kind of get ahead of that is have better descriptions, have better imagery. If you're selling the exact same product, find ways to make sure that customers are going to come to your store as opposed to your competition.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, within that app too, you can write those descriptions. You can have all the points of what makes your product different than others. You can set your pricing. You can do basically everything within there. And then once you're satisfied with your listing, push to store. And then basically what it'll do is you go into your Shopify store, you go into products, and it'll appear under your products page.
That's awesome. And as we said, how to start a drop shipping business by the end of the week. It's just that simple. You figure out what you want to sell, you go check out those products, you sync them up using the Oberlo app, and you're ready to go. It's that easy. Totally. That's awesome. So we're talking about drop shipping. We've talked a little bit about almost everything that there is that you need to know before you start a store, how to set it up, how to get started, what you need to do to optimize your store. We've come to the point now where we're going to do a little bit of a lightning round questions. The most common questions that I've seen online. We're here with Paul. He's been doing this for a while, so hopefully he'll be able to answer some of these questions. Number one, will my customers know I'm drop shipping, and does that matter?
Some of them will. I've had some customers mention, hey, I found this on other sites or other platforms. And, some customers are savvy, some aren't.
Sure.
And I think it's just about being open and honest. If someone, calls you out for that, you can admit, that's what I'm doing. I'm starting it, but, it's a legitimate business and yada, yada, whatever you have to say to convince them otherwise.
Sure.
But one thing I do in my product descriptions is I'll put, words like something like shipping takes, depending on what the manufacturer is and what I've seen, 10 to 21 days or something like that. A lot of people sometimes will see that and go, oh, they're probably shipping from overseas. Even if they don't exactly know what drop shipping is, they'll probably just assume it's being manufactured somewhere else.
Sure.
So just kind of being open and honest and not make it, don't try to make it seem like you're not drop shipping if people know what that is.
And it's not a bad thing, but like if you can get ahead of it too. So if you are drop shipping, one thing that you can definitely do is incorporate a really good returns policy.
Yeah.
You could try our returns manager app. It helps with returns, flawless returns. That way, if somebody goes to your site, regardless of if you're drop shipping or not, there's a portal for them to see exactly what your shipping methods are, how long they take, your return policy. So letting your customers know exactly how easy it is to deal with you and to either have a return or anything like that. If you present that information to your customers using Returns Manager, they're not going to have an issue that you are drop shipping, because they're going to know that their needs are taken care of, and they're going to know everything up front. So I think that's a really good way to get ahead of that.
Yeah, having any of that kind of social proof, whether it's reviews, testimonials, however you want to phrase it, and a good about us page, and like you mentioned, returns policy, all that kind of stuff. That'll go a long way in terms of just building trust for those customers.
Sure. And that being said, the other question that I had here, which is good timing, is what is the best way to handle returns and refunds? So a customer gets their product, let's say it's a shirt, say it's a swimsuit, and it doesn't fit well. Now, who do they return that to? Do they return, because it's not you selling the product? So how does that work, and what have you found is one of the best ways to deal with sort of returns and refunds, Paul?
The best way that I've dealt with it essentially is I usually have a refund period of 14 days after they've received it. So what I'll do is, if they do want to return it or get a refund, I'll refund their money, and essentially I'll get them to send it back to me, just to my house, because sending it back to the manufacturer is going to cost me basically just as much, if not more. So what I'll do is I'll keep it at my house, and I haven't come up with a situation where I've had all this inventory in my house.
Sure.
Odds are someone's going to buy that product in the near future.
Yeah.
So I'll just instead of going through AliExpress,
I never thought of that.
Yeah, I'll just ship it directly from
That's great.
house.
That's a really great idea.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're talking about drop shipping. What is it? How to do it? How to set it up on your store? What to sell? How to deal with returns. This is almost everything. I would say this is everything that you need in order to start a dropshipping business by the end of the week. So now let's say you started the store, you've got your products on there. Black Friday and Cyber Monday are coming up. So are the holidays. What are some ways that you can now take your store to the next level? So there's social media.
Yeah.
You're on the social media. You've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all those things. It's just a really, really great way to show your products, show your brand, deal with customers, customer service. So maybe that's one thing that you can do. Now that you have all of this time, not having to deal with all this inventory, you can focus on social media. It's another way that you can get your products in front of people. Maybe start running some Facebook advertisements or some Instagram ads just to get some traffic to your store. So you've got a store, make sure that you have social media set up. It's also a really great way for your customers to communicate with you. Where's my order? How do I return this? Any questions that they have, you can definitely deal with that.
Absolutely.
Number 2, email marketing. You mentioned that you kind of you have some tailored emails that you can send to your customers. Email marketing is a super great way for you to communicate with your customers, tell them what you're all about, and also offer promotions and discounts and deals. There's a few really great platforms that you can use. There's Klaviyo, there's Rare, and these are the ones that even MailChimp that allow for automation. So a customer signs up on your website, boom, they get an email. A customer makes a first purchase, boom, they get an email. Customer leaves something in their cart, boom, they get an email. Maybe the customer has bought from you, but they haven't bought from you in 6 months, boom, they get an email. It's just another way where you can set it and forget it. And communicate with your customers, ultimately, hopefully driving some sales. So you've got your store on Shopify, you've got your social media running, you've got your email marketing running. How do we make it better? Bold Apps. So what apps do you currently have on your store that you think are the must-haves?
The must-haves? Definitely, like for Bold Apps, Sales Motivator, and gives you an opportunity to create a little bit of urgency if you're promoting a discount or any sort of offer. And then also obviously upsell for just, hey, you're purchasing, we'll do upsells for, multiple swimsuits or maybe something else like excuse me, like a beach towel or something like that. And then another app that we use that's actually a free app is Multi-Currency. So that way, basically, people can see the prices are going to be in their native currency.
That's awesome. I know that I fell victim to that in the past, going to a website and seeing it in euros or something like that. It's not a big deal if you don't know conversions. I don't know anything about conversions, but having to see a price in euros, go to Google, translate it, convert it, go back, I'm already out of the door. I don't want to buy that. So by having multi-currency, giving your customers the ability to change the currency on the fly, they're not going to have to go anywhere to find out what those prices are. So I think that's a really great tip too, Paul. We talked about Returns Manager too. Excellent for returns. Your returns policy is almost one of the greatest marketing assets that you do have. If customers know that you have a flawless return policy and how easy it is, they're going to tell people about it. And so you can almost use your return policy as a marketing tool. Sales Motivator, that motivator bar that's going to drop down, especially coming on Black Friday. It's just a really easy way to let your customers know the type of sales that you're running, and you'd use upsell or discount to run those sales. Social Autopilot, it's a really, really great. Also another free app where you can just let your customers know if you've written a blog post or you have a new product, it's just going to automatically send a tweet out, which is really great. Your customers will know exactly what's going on. Product upsell, to cross-sell and to upsell products. There's so many apps that you can do, and we'll list all of these apps in the Crowdcast stream when we're done here, so that way you guys can check them out for yourself. That being said, Black Friday and Cyber Monday, it's just around the corner. It's coming. We do have, we're going to be having a lot more webinars, a lot more live streams talking about that, talking about our apps, how to use them, and how to make this the best Black Friday, Cyber Monday, of all time. So make sure to check your emails. Stay tuned because we will be sending you updates on certain live streams that we will be having. Consider it a Black Friday university, if you will. We're just going to be teaching you guys exactly what you need to know. That being said, we also have School of Commerce coming up in 2 weeks. We are going to be talking about how to choose a high converting Shopify theme. The guests that we'll be having on, the man, the myth, the legend, both partner manager Kevin Wild will be joining us. He knows absolutely everything there is to know about themes and whatnot. So it's going to be really great to talk to him. Keep an eye on your emails. We will be sending you all of those apps that we've talked about. We'll be sending you more about Black Friday, and we'll just be keeping you in the loop. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope you guys learned a lot. Also, if you have any questions, write them in the comments. You know, if you didn't ask them right now and you figure something out coming, later today or later tonight or even tomorrow, write them in the comments, because we check this all the time and we'll 100% just answer them and give you guys exactly what you need. So that way you can start a drop shipping business by the end of the week and start making some sales. Now's as good a time of any, especially with Black Friday coming around. So I wanted to say thank you guys for tuning in. I wanted to say thank you, Paul, for joining us today. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks from now. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.